Today I'm going to be breaking down Sittin on Top of the World by Burna Boy, where as usual I'm going to be talking you through the various things that I'm picking up on as we go through it. In terms of the overall theme of the song, whilst on the surface it does seem to predominantly focus on a love interest, there definitely seems to be deeper elements that are entwined within the song, such as individuality, ambition and empowerment. A noteworthy mention for those of you that don't know, this track is sampled from a late 90s song called Top of the World, which was performed by Brandy and also features Mace. If you haven't checked that out already, please go ahead and do so because it is an absolute banger. Finally, before we do go ahead and get into the video, if you have an artist or a track that you would like me to break down, review, whatever it is that you want to call it, then go ahead, pop that into the comments below. Also, if you are interested in my setup, i.e. headphones, mic, camera, I've also put links to those in the description. So if you want to check those out, then you can go ahead and do so. Let's get it.
It's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get my baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Nobody make me stop the world. Feel my thug.
Okay, right, so let's go ahead and unpack what we've heard so far. So let's talk about the actual musical elements first, and then we'll move on to how this compares to the original. So we get opened up, we get a bass riff, so we got dun, 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 and it kind of goes on. We then get a vinyl scratch, which is being used as a transition. We then get some intro vocals from Burna Boy, and it's at this point that the beat also drops in. We then get another vinyl scratch that takes us into the chorus where we get more vocals from Burna Boy, but then we also get that Brandy sample, kind of sitting on top of the world, sitting on top of the world. And I am going to refer to it as a sample because we have to remember that it does come from an original kind of 90s track. Now, what I like about what they're doing with that sample is that they're using it in two ways. So the first way is that they're using it to kind of link Burna Boy's lyrics with that sample so that we get kind of like a complete and kind of cohesive sentence, right? But they're also using the sample as a hook. So very kind of clever use of that sample to use it in two ways. Not the first time it's done, and it certainly won't be the last, but still a very clever way to use that sample. Now let's talk about how it compares to the original. Now I'm going to be honest with you, they actually haven't detracted from the original, it seems like, at all at this stage, right? So that bass, that's in the original. The beat, at least rhythmically, sounds exactly the same as what it does in the original, and that sample from Brandy, that's in the original as well. But what they have done is they have brought it up to date slightly. So in this version, it's actually in a higher key across the board. The drums much more crisper, much more prominent. You listen to that kick drum, you listen to that snare and the other percussive elements. Even the bass is just much more kind of up to date than what the 90s version is. So even though I'm not a fan typically of these things, I think they're doing a really good job on the execution, whereby for people that are new to this song, they can enjoy it and they'll like it, but they're also kind of being respectful and almost paying homage, if you like, to the original. I'm going to take it back and we'll listen to those elements. All right, is that bass? Transition. Burna Boy vocals. Transition.
Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get my baby.
Sample.
That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Nobody make me stop the world. Feel my thug passion. Be what you ask for. So tell me if you want action. Until the lights back on. I got the one we could last long. And I never knew my chance. Feel like what I waited for night long. I pull up.
Okay, again, pay attention to what's happening here, right? So we come out of the chorus and we're transitioned into the first verse with that vinyl scratch. Now, when that happens, we get a new instrument added into the mix. I can't actually tell what that instrument is because it's actually buried quite far back in the mix, but it's up front just enough for you to be able to hear it. It's like din 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 din, din. Like it's got its own rhythm. It doesn't seem to align to the beat. It doesn't seem to align to the bass. So even though it has its own rhythm, it still works well with those other elements. Now, another thing that they start to do here is they start to play around with the vocals. So you notice on pretty much almost at the start of the first verse, right, we get this additional layered vocal which is in a higher range that just repeats one back end phrase of Burna Boy's vocals. But also as we go on into this segment of it, we start to hear some of those vocals being layered a little bit more. But what you also notice is that we start to get, and again I can't quite make out whether they're vocals or whether it's just a sound, but we start to get this kind of like reversed vocal or this reverse sound effect that's kind of thrown into the mix. And another thing that we do, again, in this pursuit of kind of trying to ensure that this simplistic beat and kind of instrumental doesn't get too repetitive and boring, they start to add some cuts into the track as well. I'm going to take it back as usual, and then we can listen to those.
Make me stop the world.
Transition coming up.
Feel my thug passion.
This is that instrument.
Be what you ask for. So
Layered
tell me if
vocals.
you want action. Until the lights back on.
Right, so you hear that there? They had a reverse sound. Right, listen.
Feel my thug passion. Be what you ask for. So tell me if you want action.
Coming up. Yeah.
Until the lights back on. I got the one we could last long. And I never knew my son.
More layered vocals.
I pull up in my fashion. Every light flashing anyway. We can go ahead and just head out and chill up in my villa to get out the whole night. Just get in the drop top, take the head out and cruise with your head outside.
Okay, right. Again, notice what we get here. So we get that same vinyl scratch transition. And what actually happens, again, vocally, is Burna Boy switches up his flow, right? So it becomes a little bit more pacier. Another thing that we get in here, again, to try and keep things shifting and moving, is we get quite a long cut. And as we get to this back end, we then get this really high-pitched vocal. And it's definitely been tweaked within the studio because it's not a natural vocal. And that just kind of creeps in over the top. Again, I'm going to take it back. Listen to that.
I pull up in my fashion. Every light flashing anyway. We can go ahead and just head out.
Listen to the rhythm, the vocals.
Just get in the drop top.
There's the cut.
Out and cruise with your head outside.
And there's that vocal.
Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get by, baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Make me stop the world.
Right, listen to what they've done here, right? So it's not in the chorus all the way throughout, but as we get towards the back end, we get this dun 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 dun, like these keys come in, right? Just kind of playing these notes. Listen.
Baby, it's your time, baby. Get by, baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you.
Hear that?
Nobody make me stop the world. So tell me, what do we do when these people don't know what you've been through? You survive.
Okay, right. Again, pay attention to what's happened here. Like, this is what I mean, man. Like I have nothing but respect for these producers, yeah, because you know what, they are constantly faced with challenges all the time, and they have to think of these new and inventive ways. And sometimes even go back to old ways in order to overcome these challenges, right? So just listen to what's happened here. So we've now come out of the chorus, we're into the second verse. The second verse effectively is different. We've got these keys that have come in, right, and they're in a completely different key. Like, we haven't heard this key throughout any other part of the song. Listen to Burna Boy's vocals, right? They've also gone up in range. Now, what we've also got is like no percussive elements at all, right? And listen to the bass. The bass only comes in every now and again. But another thing to do to pay attention to the vocals is, again, they've been layered, and we've got this kind of higher ranged vocal which is just kind of coming in over the top, right? Just listen to that. Right, cut. Claps. Keys. Bass. Listen to those vocals. Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get my baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Nobody make me stop the world. Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get my baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. And again, right, pay attention to what they've done here. Just as we get towards the back end, they completely switch it up. We get doon, 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 right, we get these keys come in. Listen to the bass. It's much more consistent, much more of a modern bass, which is now in there as well, right? Just pay attention. There.
Billboard Music Awards debut performance. You absolutely killed it out there. You played Madison Square Garden. You covered Rolling Stone UK. You just made your Billboard Music Awards debut performance. I mean.
Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see more reaction and analyses videos, there'll be things popping up on the screen right now. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.